I think from my perspective, this past year, what has taught me is that the complexity that we already have has really been, has gotten worse when we go from a completely inside the perimeter to outside the perimeter. Everybody goes to telework.
From a VA perspective, COVID-19 kind of forced us to utilize a lot of new and emerging technology to support our VA mission. One of the things that it did for us was it accelerated the need for an IT architecture that enabled teleworking at a scale and also incorporates a lot of new technologies such as the cloud, mobility, telehealth, and teleservices. And I think this also requires that modernization security stack to incorporate TIC and zero trust strategies, and also the concept and lots of new technologies.
VPNs, right? I know several organizations went through some crippling issues when COVID first happened. They simply didn't have enough licenses, and the ones that did have enough licenses didn't necessarily have the throughput necessary, and their VPN infrastructure failed them. Same thing with the Zoom, right? Well, we did not have the capability to extend communication services to our customers across the board. And many organizations are still plagued, to this day. We have a lot of emergency acquisitions and other things opening up just so people can get to the point where they're treading water, and then they can start looking around and saying, okay, where is this? But I wouldn't focus necessarily on the cloud in this case. I would focus on the infrastructure and connecting your employees to their assets. Doesn't matter whether it's cloud-based assets or brick and mortar assets, whatever it is. And this, I think, is what Ron was talking about earlier when we talk about how do we isolate this traffic, and how do we ensure that what we know is good, and how do we implement security natively such that we don't have to go through all the pains. And I think that's one of the things that Zero Trust does add to the element.
We're looking at how we segment things. I think that's going to be the next big piece as part of VPN. Right now, VPN just throws open the fire hose and gives me access to everything I had when I was in the building. Do I necessarily need that when I'm remote? And are there ways to start segmenting the data, changing the way we do our authentication, changing the way we provide permissions? And looking at it from the infrastructure and cloud perspective, it's like when you're on the airplane and the mask comes down. You put your own mask on first, make sure you've got what you need so that you can then start helping other people. And if I own the infrastructure, it's easy for me to put my own mask on and get back to work and do what I need. If I'm in the cloud, I can sort of get my mask on, but I really need help from the cloud provider to help me really adjust it so that I'm at the most efficient, so I can see what's going on behind the curtain there. So it is going to be a combination of figuring out exactly where my data is, exactly how I'm doing the access control, and exactly how I'm doing authentication for each bit of data, each bit of an application.
There has to be recognition within the federal government of the need to cultivate a strong coordination with the private sector, even more than we've done in the past, which I think starts at the White House ultimately. Having someone that has clear leadership over cybersecurity issues, not only within the federal government, but more broadly, how does the federal government work with private sector partners in times of crisis within the federal government or in times of crisis within the nation? So we're continually seeing, operators get attacked within key sectors that we rely on, whether it's the financial service sector, the electricity grid, or even the news from a couple weeks back of a water treatment facility that could have had very significant impact had the attack been successful. So I think the importance here really does reside within coming up with ways for the federal government to work with private sector in a way that allows for two-way communication to take place. At the moment, unfortunately, it's still challenging to get private sector companies to feel comfortable to share information about whether it's vulnerabilities or whether it's incidents with the public sector.